Hello, my beautiful Facebook family. Happy New Year. We're in the roaring 20s, friends. And I tell you what, the Lion of Judah is roaring over your nation, over your home, over your personal situation. He's roaring over your ministry. He's roaring over your business. He's roaring over your dreams. He's roaring over your destiny. And you're going to see there's a shift, a dynamic shift that's swift in this now season. I tell you what, there's a rumble in the jungle this day, and you're going to see the mighty King of Glory paving a way. I tell you what, friend, you walk with the miracle, walking, talking, hands-on, boots on ground, King of Glory that laid his life down for you at Calvary, for you and I at the cross of Calvary. He said, it is finished. And I tell you what, friend, you do not walk with a king who is one who walks away from a battle. You do not walk with a king who's corrupt. You do not walk with a king who turns his back on his children. I tell you what, in this now season, you shall see the Lion of Judah roaring over your situation. It is a time, friend, to hold the line. It is not a time to run off the battlefield in defeat. It is not a time to lick your wounds in defeat. It is a time to rise. It is a time to build, because the army of God advances. We advance because we've been set with a scepter of righteousness. We've been set with a scepter of authority. We have kingdom authority. And God says to you this day, he says, hold the line. He says, victory is my decree over your situation. In this now season, friend, you're going to see heaven's decree over your situation and circumstance parting your impossible sea. I want to encourage you, friend. There's much noise out there in the worldly realm, in the second heaven, the vomit of the second heaven, the lies, the disparity, the cheaters, the foolish of this world are going to be confounded by the wise. And I tell you what, friend, this is a word of wisdom for us today. I tell you what, God is with you and he's fighting your battles, but he says to you in this now season, it is a time to rise. It is a time to build. You do not lick your wounds in a sense of defeat. You do not listen to the naysayers and the bully boys of intimidation and the false narrative that's coming through media in this now season. We have the victory, friend. I tell you, I was reminded of Jehoshaphat, King Jehoshaphat. You know, he was a king. Israel was being annihilated in that time. They were surrounded by the Amalekites and other, nations and other tribes which were trying to take out God's people. And I tell you what, they went and they said, the trumpet is out. The word of the Lord came, and they went out and they said, God is faithful, God is true. And they sang praises, and they went in and they planted and they took the land. And it says, even if you look at, I'm reading out of my old NIV Bible that was gifted to me in 1986, and I'm reading out of this old Bible which is 30 years old today, because it's a reminder to me that Jesus lives, that Jesus is faithful, that he is true, and that he's never running out on you. We've seen many battles won, friend, over the decades, over the nations, over our families, over our homes. We've seen the faithfulness of God delivering us because he loves us. And it says in verse 29, go and read the whole context there in 2 Chronicles, but it says here in 29, the fear of God came upon all the kingdoms of the countries when they heard how the Lord had fought against the enemies of Israel. And the kingdom of Jehoshaphat was at peace, for his God had given him rest on every side, friend. And I want to encourage you this day. God says to you, I'm with you. I've led you out. I'm leading you in. He says, hold the line. He says, fear not, I am with you. I've given you victory. Victory is at hand. He says, worship is your warfare. There's psychological warfare amid the test in this now season, but you are a warrior on the front line. And how do you hold the line? You hold the line through worship, which is your warfare. You hold the line through a sense of trusting, which is a must in this now season. You believe, as it says in Hebrews 10:10, we tap into the supernatural force of faith. We tap into the faithfulness of God. Faith is a supernatural gift, friend. It's not something you have to cook up in your own natural strength. We rest and we rely. We rest and we rely as he's been tried, he's been tested and put to the final test. And it's his love, friend, because he loves you, as it says in Luke 7:4-7. He qualifies you. He's making a way for you. His favor is upon you this day because you belong to the King of Glory. He's not turned his back on you. He's not run out on you. He's not left you to be annihilated by the Amalekites and the difficulties and the lies and the cheaters and the swindlers in this now season as you stand on what is just and what is right. What is just and right? The wisdom of God is the beginning of, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And in this now season, he's saying, you need to believe me, trust. He says, I'm paving a way. I'm making a way. It is time to obey me. This is a word of wisdom. How do we obey him? We obey through trust. Trust is a must through the finished work. He says, praise me, give thanks, decree and declare as heaven sees, and then you'll see a parting of that impossible Red Sea. He says, I want you to advance in this now season. As you ask and as you pray, I need you to advance. I don't want you to be caught up in the second heaven vomit. I don't want you to get caught up in skirmishes. I want you to stay on track. As you trust me, as you obey me, as you praise me, then you're going to advance. And when I say go, you're going to flow. It is always green for go. That's why I'm wearing green today. The kingdom of God God is always go, go, go. It's never stop. It's never retract. It's never walking away. He's behind your back. The glory of God is your rear guard. He says, I want you to stay in position. Just as King Jehoshaphat stayed in position. He says, circumstances where you felt like you've been tarred and feathered, you may feel like a dirty duck, but the Lord reminds you today, you are mine. You are an eagle who flies in the sky. You are not a dirty duck. You do not come down to the second heaven vomit and dump things down to your own experience or the own situations and circumstances that are swirling around you or that own sense of intimidation, etc. He says you fly in the sky. The eagle flies. The only time the eagle comes out of the thermals is when it takes out its prey, and it takes out its prey with the gospel of peace. I tell you what, friend, you carry the gospel of peace. You walk with the Prince of Peace, and he says, peace be still to that storm. Peace be still to that impossible situation surrounding you. Peace be still to that impossible financial situation you've got facing you this day. Peace be still to the difficulties and the challenges and the disparity and the sense of not enough. Peace be still. He says, come with me. Come and fly with me this day. He says, you're not grounded. You're one who's an overcomer. He says, you're holding the line as I'm holding onto you. Distractions and delay won't win the day. My miracle power shall sustain you along the way. Friends, you're going to tap into that supernatural force of faith, just as Jehoshaphat's team did, just as the Israelites did. They rested and they relied. And I tell you what, in this now season, many of you have had your arms held up and you've had armor bearers around you. You've had others holding your arms up. It's felt there's been an exhaustion. There's been a fatigue. There's been a silencing. There's been a sense of trying to dumb things down. There's been like a breathlessness. But I tell you what, friend, amid the test, you're going to see heaven's best. You are going to see heaven's best amid the test, and you're going to see the mighty miracle maker paving your way. I tell you what, friend, one person walking with God is always in the majority. There's a wisdom on this word today. He says to you, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It's going to give you a quiet and a peaceful life. It's time to rise. It's time to build. And he's rebuilding the ancient ruins. And some of those ancient ruins are our bodies. Some of us are very, very battle weary. We've been through some incredible skirmishes and difficulties, etc. But we've stayed faithful and true as we've trusted the King of Glory. And he says, I am faithful. And he says, I'm quietening you now with my love in this now season because I've got promises to deliver to you. He says, I see a victory surrounding you. And in this now season, it is not a time to back off into defeat. It is not a time to retreat. He says, the battle belongs to me. The battle belongs to me. And he's exposing the lies of the enemy. He's exposing the deceit. I tell you what, friend, we are going to see many, many mighty miracles as a grassroots movement is rising and building with wisdom and with understanding this day. I tell you what, friend, in this now season, as we rise and as we build, as we hold arms together as armor bearers, as we feast amid the feasting table and don't fight, as we trust amid the difficulty and the impossible situations around us, we're going to see a paving of the way. You are going to see God has made a way and he's making a way because he's faithful and he's true and he's never going to run out on you, friend. I want to encourage you this day. It is not over. It is time to hold the line. If Moses had backed off, if he'd bowed out, if he'd just given up and cowered in, etc., the Israelites would not have gone into the promised land. And I tell you what, friend, in this now season, you've been entrusted through the blood of the Lamb with the King's message and with the King's authority. And in this now season, as we decree as heaven sees, that's when we're going to see that victory, because it's a done deal in the heavenly realm, friend. And I tell you what, in this now season, there's supernatural strength coming upon you. There's retrieval, there's recompense, there's restitution, there's restoration, and there's a confidence, a courage, and a clarity upon you to pay, to P-E-Y, as we go into now the roaring 20s. Many of you are going to rise from the ashes of old like a phoenix. You're rising and building in this now season. There's been a clearing of the way. There's been an opening of eyes. You can see with eye self, which is clean and clear, and you're going to move because you carry, that Psalm 24 decree. You have clean hands and a pure heart. You've chosen what is pure and noble and right. And in this now season, it is time to hold the line. Heaven's decree, friend, over your situation is victory. I want to encourage you, go down into that place of worship, go down into that place of oneness with the King as you trust him. He says, you are mine and I am yours, and I'm never running out on you. And in this now season, you're going to see delivery of what you need. Delivery of what you need this day, as victory is heaven's decree over your situation. He wants you to get your hopes up. He's the glory and the lifter of your head, friend. I tell you what, he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and he's paving a way and he's making a way, and he's got favor for you this day. The favor of God is delivering you. The favor of God is leading upon you. The favor of God is leading you out and leading you into, so you can take the spoils of victory in this now season. Just as you see even there on that battlefield with Jehoshaphat's people, they went in the spoils. It took them 3 days to pick up the spoils of victory. There was so much spoils of victory. It took them 3 days to actually collect all the silver and the gold and all the bits and pieces that they had, and peace reigned in the land. And I tell you what, friend, in this now season, you don't walk with a second grade God. You don't walk with some idol. You walk with the King of Glory, and he's the King and the Judge jungle. There's a rumble in the jungle this day, and the lion that's sleeping has awoken and is arisen through the body of Christ, through a grassroots movement. It is not a time to be silenced. It is not a time to back down. It is not a time to get into second heaven fights. There's a wisdom on this thing. So as you trust the King, he says, trust me. You can trust me in this thing. I want you to advance forward. It's time to advance forward as you hold the line. You see, on the front line of a battlefield, as you advance, you do not put up a white flag. You do not run off the battlefield with psychological warfare. You hold the line. As armor bearers, we hold the line in intercession, in prayer, in a sense of trusting. Trust is a must. Trust is deeply connected to our emotions, and much of the second heaven vomit is trying to get people into emotional fights because it's a soul realm, our mind, emotions, and will, and then we get dumbed down and we don't tap into the supernatural force of faith because we're not operating out of our spirit man and our identity. We're operating out of the flesh. And friend, the flesh can only give birth to flesh, but the spirit gives birth to spirit. And it's the spirit that has the authority. That is the trump card that we hold in our hands today, because he is faithful and he is true, and he's never going to run out on you. He's not a joke. He's not some second-hand piece of rubbish God. He's the God of the universe. He put the stars and the moon and the sun in the sky, and he hangs it all there in the balance. And I tell you what, in this now season, he's entrusted you and I with the kingdom authority in this now season, with the little things that are in your hand. You are more than enough, friend. You carry the King of Glory, the anointing of Yeshua. You are one in the Son. And I tell you what, friend, in this now season, it's time to rise and it is time to build, because we're advancing in the roaring 20s as we go forward, 2021 to 25 and 26 to 30. I tell you what, friend, it's a time to rise and it is a time to build. There's an anointing of the ox on you. It's the four faces of God, the lion, the ox, the eagle, and the man. And I tell you what, in this now season, you can disarm all those spiritual enemies. You can disarm the naysayers. You can shake off the shackles of doubt, insecurity, fear, and not enough as you trust the King. One person walking with God, David on the backside of a hill. He was 30 years of age when he was made a king. And Jehoshaphat was 35. So friend, don't look about numbers. Don't think, well, I'm too old, or I'm this, or I'm that. You tap into the character of God. The character of God will sustain you. But all of life is a process, friend. All of life is a process. Everything you walk through, as you're walking in wisdom, you know, your ups and your downs and all the rest of it, God will protect you. That's something I pray each and every day over me and my children. Father, that you would protect us in your wisdom and in your ways. The wisdom of God, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, friend. Wisdom will give you length of days. It says in the Passion, reading out of Proverbs today, it says, Proverbs 9 verses 11, wisdom will extend your life, making every year more fruitful than the one before. So it is to your advantage to be wise, but to ignore the counsel of wisdom is to invite trouble into your life. And friend, you walk with the King of Glory. He is wisdom, and he's calling you up high this day. He says, you can trust me in this thing. He says, victory is heaven's decree over your situation and circumstance this day. The favor of God is upon you, friend, in 2021, the year of fresh starts. Many of you are going to have a fresh heart start. You're going to have the confidence, the courage, and the clarity to move forward, because God has called you. He's anointed you. He's appointed you. He's set you apart. There's been a clearing of the way. There's been much work that needed to be done. There's been much dross, much difficulty, etc. But like a phoenix, you shall rise from the ashes of old. And I tell you what, you're going to see many, many miracles unfold, because he loves you. Luke 7:47. You know, the woman at she's there. She's there. And why? Why was she forgiven much? Because she knew she was loved much. Forgiven much, she forgave much. And it's the same for you and me, friend. It's literally believing and trusting in the King. He's given you all that you need. He's laid his life down as a lamb. He came as a man that should not lie, that should never lie. There's no lie in God. He is truth. We walk with the King of Glory, and he's one with you, and he's barracking for you, and he's holding on to you, and he's carrying you, and he's leading you through, and he's never ever running out on you, friend. I tell you what, you have the victory. We have the victory in Jesus. It is a time to rejoice. It is a time to obey as we trust the King and as we pay with heaven's decree, which is victory over our situations this day. That's the word of the Lord. I love you dearly. How are you today, Paula? God bless you today, Melissa. It's lovely to see you expecting miracles. Miracles. It is a miracle day today because God is paving a way. God bless you, Diane. It's so good to see you today. Miracles shall unfold amid your situations. I tell you what, some of you feel like you've been folding washing for decades. You feel like you've been cleaning up messes, etc. But I tell you what, in the simple faithfulness, in the simple acts of service as you're trusting the King, I tell you, all of those basics of life, going to work, changing those little baskets next to the lavatory, etc., and all those little things, etc., those things keep us centered. Those things keep us on track. I tell you what, do not despise the small beginnings, etc. I tell you what, friend, all of life is mundane, but I tell you what, you can tap into the presence of God amidst the mundane, and amidst the mundane, you're going to see my name being released amid your situation, and you're going to see many miracles parting your sea. I tell you, many of you are called as frontline warriors warriors from home. Others of you are called frontline warriors in the business realm. Others of you, it's politics, etc. But I tell you what, friend, we're going to see a grassroots movement. This is the word of God. I've been decreeing this for the last 3 years. There's a grassroots movement across the nations of the earth, rising and building. One person walking with God is in the majority. And that context to that is we all need to link arms together as armor bearers. We all need to do our part as we link together. And it's literally just calling upon heaven. It's drawing upon heaven, decreeing as heaven sees. And I tell you what, and it's parting those impossible red seas. And we're going to see just breakthrough. We're going to see heaven released on earth. We're releasing the kingdom authority here on earth, bringing justice, bringing peace, bringing kingdom order, seeing lives transformed and brought into a place of wholeness in this now season where there's restitution, restoration, where there's no more tears, no more crying, etc. You know, God says, you know, in this world you shall have troubles, but I've overcome the world. I want to encourage you, friend. You are not defeated. You are not deflated this day. God says, I'm calling you up higher. You're not a dirty duck. You're an eagle that flies with me. You belong to me, and my glory is upon you. My glory is your rear guard. My wisdom is leading you out, and you're going to see miracle provision paving your way this day. You're going to get that phone call today with the provision that you need for this day. I love you dearly. I'm praying for you. It's the middle of summer holidays here. I'm just cherishing every minute with my 5 children between now and when they go back to school in another couple of weeks. I will type some notes up for you today. And yeah, very excited to share miracle stories with you too. So I'll just post some testimonies as things start to unfold in the coming days as well. Very exciting as we're walking with God. You know, quite often our personal lives are a narrative of what, you know, the word of God is. And if you're walking in a prophetic anointing, as we're all called to walk in a prophetic anointing, you know,